So today I am here with Dr. Denise Hee, and we are going to talk about nutrigenomics. I hope I said that correctly.
Yep, perfect.
And that can help me find out how to eat according to my genes. And since I currently struggle with endometriosis, bowel polyps that has been there before, IBS, MS, like fatigue and eye spasms. And I'm also on the Comber protocol, but the Comber protocol doesn't have any set diet, so everyone is going to find their own diet. So I think this is very interesting. And Denise, why don't you go ahead, tell me about yourself and a bit about this nutrigenomics.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tongue twister.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much for doing this with me. This is very exciting.
This is cool.
Yeah. So just a little bit about myself, first of all. I am a medical doctor. I graduated in 2008 from the National University of Ireland.
Yeah.
My program was actually a half and half program, in the sense that I did half of my program here in Ireland in Dublin, and I did the other half back in Malaysia, where I'm from. And then after graduation, I continued my clinical practice in Malaysia, and I was mainly based in general surgery. So I was in general surgery for a good 5 years.
Like in surgery?
Yeah, like actually cutting up people, doing actual surgery.
That's why I never wanted to be a medical doctor. It's like cutting up people so scary.
Yeah, I've operated on my fair share of people, and I've actually joined to become the member of the Royal College of Surgeons here in Ireland back in 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, so ever since then, I mean, during all these years of clinical practice, it was very interesting, very fun, but I never really got to see as much progress in my patients as I wanted to. You have the off patients who would come in just for a simple appendicitis. You cut the appendix out and they're fine, they're gone. But you have patients who have underlying diabetes or high blood pressure, and they go through so many complications. And you know that if they can just get their lifestyle under control, their life and my job would be so much easier, right? But so that's on the professional front. Now, in 2015, I got married.
Wow,
and
congratulations.
Thank you. So I moved over here in Ireland to be with my husband.
Yeah.
And again, I was working in Ireland for another year in general surgery. Once I got pregnant and I decided that, okay, I'm going to go through this maternity leave of 6 months, and what am I going to do during that time? I decided that that was a really good time for me to figure out this whole nutrition thing, because back in medical school, unfortunately, just like most medical schools in the world, we hardly get any training in nutrition.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that most patients would realize this, those who are educated enough to do their own research and they go back to the doctors. Unfortunately, majority, I would have to say, are quite limited in their knowledge of nutrition.
Yeah.
Maybe because they don't research themselves, but also because they're just not taught it in medical school. We know food is important, and we know the basics about macronutrients and metabolism and digestion, how the intestines work, blah, blah, blah. But the nitty gritty of how specific foods affect you, how you can choose better choices, how you can make better lifestyle choices that would impact you for years to come, that is not really covered very well in medical school. I'm hoping that, within the last 10 years that all these things have changed, but I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, my nutritional knowledge was embarrassing, to say the least. I had patients in Malaysia who knew a lot more about nutrition than I did. And that was specifically why I decided, okay, you know what? It's time for me to do something about this. And I actually went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York.
Yeah.
And during that 1-year course, I learned so much of information that I was never even exposed to before that.
Wow. I'm so glad you're a medical doctor actually admitting that you didn't have, the knowledge. I mean, I would love my doctors to say that. That would be awesome. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, what I'm saying right now. I suppose it's bad for doctors who are watching this, but I don't know. I think we've come to an era where patients are really a lot more empowered, and they really should be, because it's a lot more powerful when the patients and the doctors work together.
Yeah.
To help somebody, rather than me just dishing out information and giving you prescription after prescription, and it's just not fitting into your lifestyle. It's not going to be followed by the patient. You know, what is the point? So if the patient is motivated enough to figure it out themselves with the doctor's help, then the results are much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to what happened to me when I gave birth to my son.
Yeah.
Okay. I found out that my husband, who is also a doctor, by the way,
cool.
He is just 30 years old at that time.
Yeah.
So both of us are 30 years old, you know, not that old, but not that young either. And I found out that he had metabolic syndrome. Excuse me. Metabolic syndrome is basically a group of symptoms that include high blood pressure, increased waist circumference. So you have, you know, a lot of fat over the tummy. You've got an increased body mass index. It's a group of symptoms which basically act as a precursor to diabetes, to stroke, to heart disease. It's like you get metabolic syndrome, and then 10, 20 years down the line, your risk of all these other metabolic problems are much greater.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So he was at this stage, 30 years old, and it was like a big warning sign for us.
Yeah.
How can you be 30 years old? You're a doctor. You're supposed to be healthy, right? Yeah. And you have metabolic syndrome.
Yeah.
So on a personal note, for me, that nutrition thing was just, it couldn't have come at a better time, really. Yeah. Because for me, it was continuing professional education, but also it was so important for me to get it for my husband, to figure out how to feed my son, who is just starting his life now, and how can I bring him up in a way that nutrition plays a really fundamental part in his life in promoting health, rather than just being a source of energy, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So that for me was the big deal. And then more recently, my focus changed to nutrigenomics, because when I was in the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which was really great, we were learning about so many different kinds of diets. Now, nothing wrong with that. You know, it gave me a very wide perspective as to not only the confusion that's out there on the internet, but also the wide variety of diets that are actually existing in the market at the moment.
Yeah, I think we're a lot of people who suffer from that.
Yeah, there's like 100 different diets in my curriculum alone, and that's only the 100 different diets that they chose to include in the curriculum. That's not even all the diets that exist.
Okay.
Right?
Well, that's what a lot of people suffer from, like finding out, additional to the disease, finding out what are they going to eat, what is good for them. So this is just excellent.
Right. So as far as I was concerned, it's great knowing that, you know, I can understand 100 different diets. I can talk to anybody and help them in some way. But for me, as far as I was concerned, there had to be a much more scientific way to go about this. Something more concrete, something that's a bit more personalized, something that's a bit more unique to everybody in figuring out and deciding which diet is actually the best for them.
Yeah.
So that's how I came about nutrigenomics.
Yeah.
And
you can take more hands-on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I found out about nutrigenomics, I couldn't believe how little people actually knew about this.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of the general public, but also the health professionals. It's just really a revolutionary field, which unfortunately not many people know about. Thankfully, it's very rapidly advancing, and it's gaining a lot of traction, but it's still it's considered a very elite field, I guess. It's very subspecialized. Okay. But in terms of the usefulness, I mean, can you imagine having just a simple saliva swab? It's not even a blood test. You're not even going to have any pain at all, but yet you get so much information of finding out how your body was designed to eat.
That's amazing.
You're finding out your blueprint of what you were born to metabolize, how you can digest things, what are your inherent needs for micronutrients. I mean, it's very personalized to you so that your diet is basically 1 in 6 billion.
Wow. Yeah. That's so cool.
Because you're 1 in 6 billion. So your diet should be as unique as you are, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like marshmallows, right?
Well,
just have to add diet. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I'm just creative. So, my mind was just going creative with that. But yeah, like I can definitely say that, I think that I find it hard to find a diet that fits me out of all the diets that I see out there. I think like some of it really feels right, the protein stuff, but there's other things that just like, you know, when the fiddle goes wrong, sour in the system. So
yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone. Don't worry.
So it's a swab that you put in the mouth, and what happens from there?
So we take your saliva from the swab. It gets sent to the lab, and the lab will test between 45 to 50 genes, all of which are related to nutrition and fitness.
Yeah.
Okay. So this swab is basically a wellness swab. It's not a disease swab. It's actually focusing on your well-being and how to make you even better.
Wow, I need that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the body, you have about 30,000 genes, out of which only maybe 1 to 2% actually differ between people. Okay, so no matter how different you feel or you think you look from other people, you actually share a lot of genes with everybody else. So we're focusing on those genes which are different between everybody else. And among all of those genes, which could possibly differ, we're only testing 45 to 50 genes. Okay, so these 45 to 50 genes are going to tell you the foods that you metabolize best, whether you metabolize carbohydrates or fat better, in which case from that they can deduce whether you should be on a low carb diet, a low fat diet, or a more balanced Mediterranean diet.
And that's excellent, because there's so many people who just jump on a diet because it works for someone else, right? And they see results, but it doesn't necessarily work for them. Exactly.
That is the whole point of nutrigenomics, because no two people will get exactly the same results.
Yeah.
And you know, genetics is only one factor. You of course have to take into account their hormones, their gut microbiome, their bacteria in the intestines, and their age, their environment. Of course, there's a lot of other factors as well, but genetics is definitely one of those factors.
Yeah. So can I ask, like, do you eat very different from your husband? I just came up with that.
Well, to be honest, our swabs came up with an overall recommendation was lactose intolerant Mediterranean diet. And it's so lucky that we both came up with the same thing.
Wow.
Okay. So cool, but of course, within those 50 genes, we have a lot of variation. So I do eat slightly different to him.
Yeah.
Overall, we try as much as possible to find common ground so that it's easier for me being the one who cooks in the family. I don't want to have to cook so many different meals.
Yeah.
We just try to find what's common between both of us and then eat that. I mean, I think it'll be very difficult for somebody to try and fit everybody's different genetics.
Yeah, because I just thought about that. Family, if you take the test, it would be smart to actually test your spouse as well.
Yeah.
Well, because you know, the fight about, or the fight, it's not a fight, but it's always like
discussion.
And no, and my husband is the cook. He's the one who does the most, because I've also been sick.
Okay.
And he hates cooking, and he doesn't hate it. He's really good at it, but he just like hates making the food up. You know what? Like what we're gonna have for dinner, and usually it just goes maximum of 5 different things that we don't order sushi or Thai food is within the range of protein, like fish or coconut milk is what I can have.
Okay.
So it's healthy, but it's not very cheap to eat that every day. So yeah, so it's good to find the basic common ground with your spouse as well. That was my thought of all of that, because, you know, food is not a lonely journey.
No, absolutely not. You need to sit down with somebody and enjoy it to properly nourish your body. You know, you have to nourish the soul as well, right?
Yeah.
And mealtime should be enjoyed.
Yeah. So what I do is I'll get the swabs from the company that you work with, and then swipe it in the mouth.
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically just a 1-minute swab between the area between your lips and your teeth, upper and lower, and then the inside of both cheeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and it comes, the kit comes with a tube for you to post the swab back to the UK. It comes with all the instructions and a little consent form for you just to sign and send off together as well.
Awesome. So
it's very, very simple. It's very self-explanatory.
And it takes about 3 weeks, is it? Or?
Yeah, it takes about 3 weeks for them to get the results back.
Okay.
Once it reaches the lab.
So when I get the results, or will you get the results, or how?
I'll get the results, and then I'll schedule a call with you to go through it and explain to you one by one what's going on with you, and we'll try to figure out how we can, you know, help you as best we can. Yeah.
Find the best diet for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be so exciting, because I kind of have a clue, but then again, I don't. And also because the biggest problem I suffer from is the fatigue. And lately, because the endometriosis makes you fatigue, and the MS makes you fatigue, and the MS attacks the brain, and when it attacks the brain, it makes you super fatigued. So it's not like a fatigue where you can just like work out and you get like a second wind. It's like you have to actually calm down, because it can get worse. So, and that that is the times where, when you get into exhaustion mode, you crave for sugars, and you crave for like everything you shouldn't have. And I just like had this one muffin last time on my endometriosis fatigue. I could almost not walk up like a little hill. It was so horrible, and like thinking, and like the fatigue is so strong, and then it's easy to eat all the sugar. And that one muffin led to like 3 weeks of comfort food eating.
Oh, okay.
And now it's just like, okay, I gotta break it off, and and we're going into round 2 of endometriosis. So it's like, yeah, the body's like, let's do it the easy way. And I'm actually a fan of self-discipline and stuff, but I noticed, you know, like the food is so determining how my self-discipline is, because if I eat better, I get more in like the driver's seat of my whole body, and I really like that feeling of having control. Because I think my biggest problem, or like that stress eating, like you have to do all the stuff, and you grab for food, and you grab for what's there. And if my cook is not home making food for me, then you know, it might not be a very healthy option. But we don't have so much unhealthy stuff, but it's not the best for me either. So, and that is the bad circle that I need to curb, but also then it's good to know what to eat. Yeah.
Then this will definitely help you, I think, because it also kind of, you know, a lot of people intuitively know what's good for them, in the sense like how you're describing. You get symptoms and you feel bad when you eat something, and you don't feel good when you eat something else. But sometimes you need that black and white to actually prove to you, you know, what you're thinking is correct. And for other people, they've grown up in a world where they are influenced by a lot of advertising and marketing, and they've kind of lost that ability to listen to their body.
Yeah.
So that would be very helpful for them as well, to have this black and white again. You know, this is what your genes say, and if you want to be in the best of health, this is the way you should be eating. Now, you don't have to be very strict about it. You can have your cheat meals. You can, you know, adapt it to your lifestyle. But at the end of the day, you can't change your genes.
Yeah.
Not right now anyway, and maybe in the future, but not right now.
It's funny when you say this about the marketing that actually dictates and gives us this information bombardment, because when I lived in Australia, Australia for 4.5 years, they had like all this like sumptuous desserts and everything on TV. That was like ice creams and chocolates and stuff. And like the next commercial would be like, join Jenny Craig for her health journey to kilos. And it was just like alternate, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is just so dumbing my subconscious mind. Stop it. I get so confused. Like, we get so much confusing material, like bombarded. So I don't watch TV that much. We don't have it so much here of those things. But we have, there's enough on social media anyway.
Oh yeah.
But also like one of the I find one of the hardest things for me when it comes to food is not the fatigue and well, that's hard enough, but what I find the biggest problem is IBS. Struggling with IBS has done that, or have made me choose the foods that doesn't go too fast into my system and too fast out, metabolize really fast, or make me stressed if I'm in a stress situation. Like, for example, if I want to go to a meeting and I grab an apple, which is like high fiber and high kind of acid, you know, Granny Smith apple, that has just like such a cleansing effect on me if I'm stressed. But if I sit down and I'm home and alone, then it doesn't make that much difference. So that's why, for example, grabbing a muffin for me, eating, because I know that it will slow down, or a banana, those two things, slow down the system, right? So when so that has been like my like stress situation for years, that I didn't want to go to a meeting if I ate something that was healthy, because the body would go like high there, like really on high energy levels, and be very metabolic. But if I ate foods, as I just said, that was not so good for me, I would be more mellow in my mood, and the body would relax more. And I found that to be one of the biggest problems with IBS and stress. So do you have like any advice on that, or comments, or?
I find that people who have problems with stress eating, emotional eating, that kind of thing, they benefit a lot from keeping a food diary. It's not just writing down what you eat, when you eat, how much you eat, but you need to figure out how you feel afterwards of that particular food item. And then when you keep a food diary for, let's say, 3-4 weeks, you kind of start to see patterns as to which particular food caused which particular symptom. And also, you know, when you're jotting these things down, it really helps if you're also recording your state of mind, your state of emotion. And, you know, once everything's all laid out, you can kind of, it's really the pattern which emerges, and that can help you pinpoint your triggers, which one, you know, starts that cascade of stress and being emotional eating, and having your IBS flare-ups and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Is that something that you've tried before?
No, I haven't really tried it. I'm not so good with journaling. Because I'm like, that's why I'm video blogging now, is because I want to video blog. That's like my step in journaling, because I feel like my life has been like, and I was sick with this, and I did this, and then it's just like so much, and I'm like, okay, finally, I'm just going to video blog what I'm doing. But journaling, no, I'm getting there. But it sounds like a good idea, though. Yeah. So what we do from here, I also like just adding that this can be used for people who also are on a calcium restrict diet, right?
Well, nutrigenetics doesn't actually come up with a foods that you can and can't eat.
Yeah.
You see, like even if, just as an example, okay, there is a gene that tells you whether you are lactose intolerant or lactose tolerant. So if you were to go specifically and only with your genes, okay, and you came up to be lactose intolerant, for example, like myself,
yeah,
you could, if you wanted to, cut out all the dairy in your diet, right? And that should work fine for you. But if you happen to lead a lifestyle where you love cheese, or you love yogurt, or you love cereal in the morning, whatever it is that has milk,
I'm not allowed to that on this protocol. It's like kryptonite for people who are on the Combra protocol. They can't have any milk.
No, yeah, but what I'm saying is that the nutrigenetics doesn't actually tell you, okay, you are lactose intolerant, you cannot have milk, you cannot have calcium, you cannot have this. What they're telling you is, okay, your genes tell you or show you that, you know, you don't really digest the sugar in the milk very well. Now, when you now take that knowledge and adopt it to your lifestyle, and then you try to figure out, okay, maybe if I take hard cheeses like cheddar versus soft cheeses, which have a slightly more lactose concentration, then my symptoms are actually worse with the soft cheeses, but maybe I can tolerate hard cheeses a little bit better. So yes, technically, genetically, I am lactose intolerant, but I can have maybe, you know, some cheddar cheese on my bread on Sundays. Okay. And once a week, if I eat that much of cheese, I'm fine. You know, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So it doesn't give you a long list of foods which are prohibited. It doesn't give you a long list of things that you must include in your diet or must not include in your diet in that sense. Yeah. It's not like the traditional thousands of diets on the internet that you'll find with a, you know, go and no food list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So it gives you a hint on what you can moderate, in other words.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you have anything to add before we go on this project with me?
No, I'm excited for you. I mean, a lot of my clients, they find out new things about themselves, and it's really the self-discovery which excites them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm very excited too. And I look forward to speak to you again when you get my results.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for chiming in, and I'll see you in a month or so then.
Yep, absolutely. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.